Alright folks, this is Acid Root, so let's conclude Super Punch-Out already. So this game has been a bastard and a half trying to complete. I've got to say, I can't believe the degree of, bullcrap that this game puts you through. I mean, basically the first 15 opponents are, minus Rick Bruiser, are basically cakewalks. And I would say the only other opponent besides the Bruiser Bros that really pisses me off throughout this whole thing is just Super Macho Man, and the only reason why he's so tough is because you have to fight all 4 of the fighters just to get to him. If he was like the first or second fighter, it wouldn't be nearly as bad, but that's kind of the point of this game, is it's an exercise in patience, and it's just something that I've consecutively continued to see. So obviously, if you are doing this, you need to know that you have to know his combos. There's just no way I'm gonna save you years upon years of frustration if you just know his moveset and kind of get with it. So basically, the first 30 or 40 seconds, he'll do these quick jabs that take off a third or a fourth or a half of your health. And he does that multiple times, and then he does a couple quick jabs for a little bit. Can't use his super on him, and then he starts using his own Hurricane Rush, just like the guy from Cuba, and then Aaron Ryan. So Piston Hurricane. So yeah, so you have to be able to take these, and when he does his Hurricane Rush, when you block it, which it starts with, it's down, then up, and you have to kind of be able to, you're going to take damage when you block it, so there's a counter that you can do to kind of get past that, but this is kind of, and this really happens to be the main thing. So honestly, I could talk about how to beat this guy, but chances are, you may just be watching. So, yeah, this guy is a bastard. Just understand that. I think beyond normal parameters, I fear that not many people could probably beat this guy on the Super Nintendo. And this kind of happens to be a thing. So that's what you have to pay attention to, is just me trying to say, pat yourself on the back just for getting to this guy. That's the main thing, because it takes practice, and that's really the situation. God forbid you want to beat this game with 0 losses and that sort of stuff. I just would have to say, that takes, I would almost say you could run for president in the United States if you could do that. You're either a gamer geek that goes outside once or twice a year or something like that and gets no sunlight, or you have some skill sets that showcase being more than a tycoon if you can beat this whole game without losing. That is kind of the thing. I got pretty far. I lost a handful of times. The first 15 opponents are doable, but this guy is just too tough, and the situation about him is just how many things that he does. So you do have to beat the fighters, all 3 of them, every single time you want to fight this guy. And of course, this one wrong misstep and you're doing it all over again. So that kind of frustration is really, I do feel like you probably should be able to save after every fighter. I think that was kind of Nintendo's hubris. The most ideal way of doing this game is through the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. If you have to get one of those, I just would suppose this game is actually doable on that, because at least you can save state and keep coming back to this guy, as opposed to in the regular 90s Super Nintendo version having to fight all 4 of the fighters over again, which probably wears on your patience and endurance. And Rick Bruiser might piss you off along the way. Hoy Corlo might piss you off along the way. So, hell, I would even say that Narcissus Prince could piss you off along the way. That's just the truth about it. It really is a bastard. And I'm not trying to over-complain about this game. I'm just letting you know what you're going to have to deal with as you dive into this. The first 3 circuits are at least fun to the point where they're not too tough, but you really have to question what you want to do with this. All these takes that you see are takes that I've had to redo this session, so it's going to be probably by the end of this episode there's going to be 10 or 12, so that's 20 times I'd have to fight those same 3 opponents over and over and over again. That's unreasonable. It really is. I think the Super NES Classic Edition is basically the only way you want to go about this. So, just take it from me. I mean, unless you are like the most astute daredevil, and I mean that to like a T. I'm talking like these Gandhi fuckers out there that sit on nails on top of mountains in their underwear in like 5-degree or -5-degree weather. That should definitely tell you the sort of resilience that you need to tackle this sort of thing. And maybe, I mean, there are people like that. There were people like that. People like Bruce Lee, people like Gandhi and that sort of stuff, but they're few and far between. I don't know what sort of cohesion Nintendo was aiming for. I just feel like they probably needed to narrow down the skill set of this. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't have been that much. You look on GameFAQ and it says the difficulty for this game is tough, and that's an understatement. It is very tough. This is one of the toughest regular Nintendo developed games that they've done, which is what you have to understand. It really is. It's tougher than Mario, it's tougher than Zelda, it's tougher than Metroid, it's tougher than a lot. I mean, it's just, you really do have to know what you're doing. Now, I wonder if they figured that out in the Punch-Out for the Nintendo Wii. I wonder how tough that game is, because I know the emphasis is always they do not want you to make mistakes. If you make mistakes, you're doing it over, basically. In some cases, you may have 3 or 4 opponents that you have to fight again. So you really have to make sure your execution is, like, dead set. So, it's not fun. I mean, I don't want to say it's not fun. It's fun just being able to do it if you actually do it. But if you're in that 3, I mean, if you're in the 3 and 98 times that you do it, it's amazing. But if you're in the 95 and 98 times that you don't, it really is a bastard. So just understand that when you fight Nick Bruiser. It's kind of the thing. I mean, I really applaud people that can actually do it, but it's just not. So. But luckily I beat the game, so, you know, after all is said and done, I managed to do it. I used a bag of tricks, and I took care of it. It pissed me off, but, you know, luckily I felt like I had to beat this game and, you know, have some fun with it. I mean, it is actually fun fighting Nick Bruiser. This is the fact that you really have to, I don't know the degree of practice that you would have to do. I mean, I could be playing this game until, like, you know, July of next year, and that's the thing. I mean, you take 3 days off, like that's what I did back in July, because I had other things. I had, you know, real life to attend to, and you know, you take 2 or 3 days off from playing this game, and you forget how to fight the special circuit opponents. So you have to play this game every single day. It makes it even more of a nightmare. But all right, we'll save the rest of this talk for the next episode. Stay tuned for the conclusion. Here it comes.